Good morning, welcome back. So today I want to talk to you briefly about selecting herbs for treatment in herbal medicine. So when we are selecting herbs, it is often a good idea in order to get an objective view. And that might be seeking out the help of somebody who can look over your case in fine detail and help with that selection process. Even a skilled physician sometimes makes his or her own worst physician because we don't often see our own conditions from an objective standpoint where really we maybe sometimes know a little too much and get too differentiated with treatment. So how I like to go about treatment when I'm working clinically with patients is to assess the condition completely and not try to compartmentalize and treat this symptom with this herb and this condition with this herb and in a kind of this for that herbal approach. Surely there are herbs that have a very strong direction towards a particular pathology or organ or tissue, like let's say Chardunica, also known as Gormar, Gymnema, is used to treat diabetes, specifically type 2 diabetes mellitus, but also can be effective in certain cases for type 1 diabetes. But it has a strong affinity towards the pancreas, but also to the blood and other areas of the body. And here an herb can be thought of as, oh, this herb is good for this condition. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be good for a particular individual and or what types of combinations of herbs might be beneficial for that person. So although we can categorize herbs according to their properties and indications in relation to the diseases that we're treating, we're also looking at the individual. There's core principles in Ayurveda that are used when we are assessing as well as formulating and treating. And this is one observance of the dosha. And that's not just simply what constitution are you, which everybody's interested these days, but traditionally speaking, it is important to assess what dosha or what bodily humors is specifically promoting or encouraging that disease process. So if Vata is the dosha that is most out of balance, it is the dosha that has what we call Bala Samprapti, or the strongest dosha involved in the pathogenesis of the disease process. And then we are assessing whether that dosha is acting on its own or if it is amalgamated or connected with ama, or the uneliminated metabolic waste products or toxins in the body, and in a way where we refer to it as either sama with ama or nirama without ama. So we're assessing dosha, we're determining whether it is if ama is present or not, and then we are looking towards what dhatus or what tissue elements are involved in the process if the dosha and ama is lodging itself into a particular dhatu or tissue element, and what channels or shrotas are involved, and then which organs are involved. And sometimes the organs are part and parcel, oftentimes, with the shrotas. And then we are looking towards what is the strength of the Agni, the fire, the digestive fire in the body. Not only the Jatara Agni in the stomach, the presence of the digestive, the gastric juices and the digestive elements that are available to us through those secretions such as hydrochloric acid and so on, but also the Dhatu Agni, which is the elemental fire, the digestive fire within the tissue itself. So each tissue has its own metabolic spark, in a sense, which helps it to digest what is taken into the body and allowing it to become integrated into its tissue. And so this Dhatu Agni is responsible for the transformation of what we eat into eventually a processed and well-established tissue, whether it be plasma or blood or muscle or bone or nerve and so on. So here we have the observance of Agni. What is the state of the Agni? If it's too high or it's too low, and how is it affecting the body? Is it too high and creating more of a catabolic energy and creating deficiency of tissue, or is it slow or manda, and is it creating excess in the condition? And then, this is, I'm speaking just very simply here, simple terms as much as possible. The next is elimination. What are the qualities of the mala, the waste products in the body? Are they eliminating efficiently? Are they kind of slugging up the system, clogging up the channels, and so on? Then we have the mind, the mental and emotional aspects. Just like Agni digests the food that we take into our body, those Agnis are present in each of the 5 senses, or the Indriyas. And the Indriyas, if they are functioning, if we are, in a sense, kind of acting appropriately and we are experiencing this life in a harmonious way, then what we are experiencing is well integrated. If there is a bombardment of experience, if there is a difficulty processing through an experience, if there is excessive use of the senses, or underuse of the senses, or wrong use of the senses, this is, in a sense, the way that we can start to assess the qualities of the mental and emotional state. Unprocessed emotion, unprocessed experience can be seen as mental ama. And that is worked on through various measures, through diet, lifestyle, yoga, meditation, and also in just engaging life in a more healthy way, psychologically. And this is where some therapies can be available to the individual, and herbs also can be a great support. Specifically, medya rasayanas, or herbs that have an affinity to the mind and nervous system. They're known as nervines as well in Western therapeutic language. So here we're taking all of these aspects into consideration when we are trying to streamline the many herbs that are available to us into a small, well-crafted selection of herbs that can be used and compounded together to create a formula that synergizes and matches that signature of what is going on in the body from an Ayurvedic perspective, looking through that lens of Ayurveda. And that is one approach. There are a wide variety of traditional and classical formulations, and traditionally, sometimes several of those compounds can be used to create a whole treatment plan. And I refer to that as, in my own language, as compounding with compounds. So we can compound with herbs, 6, 8, 10 herbs, compounded into a formula, very specific for the individual. Or we can use traditional medicines that maybe contain a dozen or even 24 or more herbs in each formula, but they're made into a medicine that is considered one medicine, like Chandra Prabha or Kaishor Gugulu or Draksha Rishtam, some specific medicines. And these medicines will be chosen and selected carefully in order to create a smart treatment plan for the individual. So we have the ability to compound with herbs and make formulas and kind of pack everything into one, or keep it really simple, streamlined constitutional formulation. Or we may have a very targeted condition, targeted medicine to treat a particular disease process. Like, let's say if you have gout and you're using a medicine specifically to treat gout, I call that kind of a single directional kind of bullet approach, addressing the gout. So we may be using Rasnadi Gugulu. We may be using another quath or decoction medication that's prepared to synergize with that Rasnadi Gugulu to increase the efficacy of that treatment. Or we may again decide to compound with herbs and create a formulation. So it's not just as simple as ashwagandha is good for stress, or shatavari is good for female reproductive hormonal imbalances and so on. I mean, there's truth in those thoughts and those understandings, but more importantly, we're wanting to have a more well-integrated understanding of the herbs and select them appropriately. And in the core of this, I think is the safety of the treatment, and the well-designed treatment plan for the patient. And equally as important, we're not wasting medications, we're not wasting herbs, because all these herbs that we're using today in Ayurveda and in Western herbal medicine are becoming endangered, threatened in the wild environment. And we are left a lot of the times with cultivated versions of these plants, which still need to be used in a sustainable way, because those herbs are grown on the earth, they're shipped around the country, packaged into products, and so we want to be as waste-free as possible when we are selecting the medicines for the patient. Anyways, I hope this is helpful, and stay tuned for more info on Ayurveda and herbal medicine.